Memorial Day, Monday, May 29th, 2023, and welcome to Wager Talk Today. I'm Teddy Covers, and looks like I'm hosting solo right now. We have a loaded Monday edition. Look, we're going to be here. You guys are here. That means we're going to break down games. We have Game 7 in the NBA tonight. We have Game 6 in the NHL tonight. We have MLB on center stage as well. Marco D'Angelo is going to lead us off. He'll talk NHL for tonight, Vegas and Dallas. He'll talk some MLB, Colorado and Arizona. Bryan Leonard is going to join us next. He's going to talk Minnesota and Houston in Major League Baseball action, as well as Tampa Bay and the Chicago Cubs. Carmine Bianco is going to close out the show. He's going to talk some NHL, Dallas and Vegas, and some Europa League final action, Sevilla and Roma, as well as in Budapest. So Carmine, Bryan, Marco, loaded Monday edition. Let's get right into it and bring in our first guest right off the top, Marco D'Angelo. Marco, welcome to Wager Talk Today. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Happy Memorial Day to you and all of our viewers today. Everybody have a safe and happy holiday. And hopefully we can bring you some winners today.
Absolutely. $9 Monday. Every play, every package over at WagerTalk.com, priced at $9 each and every Monday. And obviously that means you're going to get some real discounts and some strong selections as well. Marco, let's start with the game that I'm sure you're most interested in. You are a Las Vegas Golden Knights season ticket holder, and they are trying to close out this series against Dallas. So far, it hasn't gone easy for the Knights. Dallas, chalk again this evening, minus 130, total 5.5. What do we do with the Golden Knights and the Stars? NHL Game 6, Western Conference Finals.
Well, Teddy, if I want to have peace in my household, I will be rooting for the Vegas Golden Knights tonight because the missus is a huge fan of the Golden Knights as well as I am, but she doesn't take losing well. But I'm going to look to the total as far as where my money's going to be in this one. And we're looking at a number of 5.5. And I know those dreaded 5.5s in hockey, they're tough to watch, because you're never safe with the under on the 5.5. But this has been a series that goals have been hard to come by. And if you really look at the goals that have been scored in this series, they've either come on power plays, off of a turnover, or some kind of weird bounce off of the back board or over top the net and hit the goalie in the back of the jersey and fall in. It's just been crazy type goals. And I think we're going to see another low scoring game. Now, Dallas, they lost the first 3 games of this series. And in Game 3, Jake Ottinger was pulled from the game in the first period. It was a quick yank by Coach DeBoer. And since he's come back, Games 4 and 5, he has been absolutely sensational. He stopped 64 of 68 shots in the 2 games. And with this series at 3-2 and at Dallas, this game is going to be tightly contested once again, and I am going to look to the under. And a couple things for you. Vegas Knights, we know their franchise history is not that long, but they have played 16 conference final games in in their short history. Of those 16 conference final games, Teddy, 13 of the 16 games have gone under the total. I'm going to stay with that again. In Vegas, a little stat from this season. If they gave up 4 or more goals in their previous game, they're 20-8 to the under in the next game. I'm on under 5.5 for our first play here on the show tonight, Game 6, Stanley Cup playoffs.
So how much do you worry about the open nets in these type of situations? Obviously, with one team facing elimination, in theory, if they're down, they will pull their goalie earlier than usual, which leads to more of a possibility for late game garbage goals. Does that worry you here? Is there a way to get around that? Would you play first period under or something like that, or just hope for the best?
Yeah.
Or hope that it's tied?
I absolutely hear you, Teddy. And that's the thing about the 5.5s, why they're hard to watch when you have the under. The thing about the first period, and in theory, that's generally a good thought with most games if you like the under. But if you've watched the Knights play during these playoffs, the first period's been one of the highest period scoring periods. In my buddy that'll be on the show next to us, we text back and forth if we're not actually watching the game somewhere together. And we're talking about, man, I wish I had the over in the first period, and I'll get the text back. Yeah, no shit, Captain Obvious, from my buddy Bryan. But it's a spot where one team gets that 2-goal lead and then they're shutting it down. They're playing, just dropping the puck in the other zone, playing not to give up a goal rather than worrying about attacking. So that has something that has made most of these games go under the total, when you would have thought, based on the scoring in the first period, based on in-game live betting, there was the game that I was talking about, the in-game went to 9.5 because of the scoring in the first period. They didn't get over the regular full game closing line, let alone anywhere near the in-game betting, because it just slowed down in the second and third periods.
Marco D'Angelo, WagerTalk.com. And Marco, I told Teddy I'm not coming on until after we finish with the Canadian sport because it's Memorial Day and I had to find my USA tank top. So let's talk something American here with Major League Baseball here. And happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. Seriously, it's an honor to do these shows for those that gave the ultimate sacrifice so we can talk sports betting Monday through Friday, live noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific here on Wager Talk TV. But Marco, a lot of daytime action, but there is a late afternoon game at the top of the schedule in the National League at 4 Eastern. What are you looking at here in this Colorado-Arizona game?
Well, for me, this one's all about the starting pitchers in this one, and that's why I'm going to take it as a first 5-inning wager. Couple reasons. I think I've got a tremendous edge with the starting pitchers, and I really don't like either one of these bullpens. So I am not going to cause myself any more grief in worrying about trying to cover this game, get the bullpen to put out any fires late in the game. And what we're looking at with the starting pitchers, Colorado sends Carl Kaufman to the mound. Now, I understand this is a very short sample size. He's had 2 starts, but the 2 starts have been just god-awful. He's pitched a grand total of 8 2/3 innings. He's given up 9 runs in those 2 games. In that short amount of innings worked, but his strikeout to walk ratio just 6-5, and that's just not going to cut it. And when you've got a young pitcher that's facing teams for the first time, I always say that the pitcher has the advantage over the hitters in those cases, and he's still not fooling anybody in those spots. So with that said, now I look at the Arizona pitcher, and we've got Ryan Nelson on the mound. He's been absolutely brilliant in his last 2 starts. 11 1/3 innings pitched. He's allowed just 1 run over that. And again, going back to the bullpens, why put them in the equation here? If I think I've got this big of an edge between the 2 starting pitchers, I'm going to go first 5 innings. The game line is like around 165 or so. I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to take it first 5 innings. I'm going to go ahead and lay a half a run and get this down to 145. I also find that Colorado, the last 3 seasons on the road, when they're coming off 2 or more overs, they are just 8-32 straight up. I'm going to go ahead and make it a first 5-inning wager on Arizona and lay the half a run.
Sure. So we've seen a fair bit of Arizona money coming in. The full game price now in the $2 range. Arizona minus 145 when you're laying a half a run with them first 5 innings. And I want to ask you about this because from a starting pitching matchup, I don't see what you see at all. And let's talk about this for a minute because I think it's interesting. Kaufman has had 2 starts and he's been hit hard both times. They're bringing him back for a 3rd time, which means they believe in him. Okay. Kaufman's quote: "One of the most important things for me is the feeling that I belong here." Those first few innings I've had the past couple outings kind of reiterate that to me. Now it's just trying to find a way to make those adjustments and get the hitters out the 3rd time through. That's where he's been having his struggle. So I think there's hope for Kaufman. Nelson already faced this Rockies lineup, and they bashed him. 6 runs, 9 hits, 4 innings. Now they get a second look at him. Does that concern you at all? Either of those two factors?
Well,
One, that maybe Kaufman has something, and two, that they've already seen Nelson and they beat him up to lay a
they
half
did
run and
see
lay a $1.45 with that.
They did see Nelson, and they saw Nelson earlier in the season back in April. Like I said, the guy's got 11 starts now. He seems to me to be finding his way. If you look at those last 2 starts, Teddy, that doesn't look like the same Ryan Nelson that we saw at the beginning of the season. So I'm looking at the current form there. And I get what you're saying, that they still have Kaufman up here, giving him a 3rd start. Sometimes you just don't have options either. You know, if it's injuries and stuff, and you're stuck with using guys, and the fact that Colorado, you look at that pitching staff, they've used the bullpen a lot in their games. That's something that's always going to happen with Colorado teams because of where they play. So sometimes these guys, and key point that you made about, I got to get through that 3rd time through the lineup and such. When you got to try to squeeze an extra inning out of a starter sometimes because your bullpen's been used hard in the last, few games, that creates the problem, because that extra inning you're trying to squeeze is an extra time through, possibly the lineup, and that's when the bad things happen. So I feel confident in this one until Kaufman shows me, they could have all of the faith they want in him. Till he shows me that he deserves that faith, I'm going to go against him.
Marco D'Angelo, and don't forget it's $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com. Every best bet is $9, including Marco's 4% MLB underdog game of the week. And Marco, you're up over 66 units the past 4 months alone in all sports. So not a bad time to check out Marco for $9 Monday. What else you got planned today and this week at Wager Talk, Marco?
Well, we'll definitely have some winners. I hope this week we'll be working on that. Today will be a sports-filled day. There will be food involved as well. It's Memorial Day. The grill will be cranking. And, I love your T-shirt, Steve, there. Please tell me, though, that you don't have a matching pair of Speedos for the poolside. Okay, it's not a Speedo. We'll go with that.
Crotch shot. No, it's not a Speedo. It's definitely not a Speedo, Marco. And I wasn't going to show the crotch shot until you told people I might have a Speedo on, because we could definitely not have that rumor floating around anytime, day or night. And by the way, the food pics are great. Follow Marco on Twitter as well. I always get hungry when I see your Twitter feed, Marco, as you're always trying to one-up our future guest here in a few minutes, Carmine Bianco, for the best meals at a restaurant between Vegas and Toronto on a nightly basis. But Marco, great to see you. And we'll catch you soon here on numerous shows on Wager Talk TV this week. And Teddy, we joked on Friday that with all the Memorial Day sports, basketball, hockey, auto racing, that we still snuck college football into the viewer question. And we will have a viewer question coming up a little bit later. But hey, look, it's Memorial Day. We got baseball, hockey, basketball. Let's sneak a little NFL talk. You learn anything this weekend?
We got to talk about Tom Brady to the Raiders. I mean, and of course, of all the teams that Brady is now associated with, the Raiders are the one that it's like, if you're a Raiders fan, you can't ever root for Tom Brady. The Tuck rule game, Raider fans can never and should never forget. And they're never going to love Tom Brady or like Tom Brady. He cost them a Super Bowl title they haven't gotten since or really come that close. Now Brady's agreed to purchase a piece of the Raiders. The deal still has to be approved by 24 of the 32 owners. It makes sense for everyone involved except for the Raiders fan, the Raiders fans. But the question then comes, Jimmy Garoppolo is recovering once again from another surgery. Could Brady end up being the Raiders' starting quarterback this year? Now, there were rumors floating around that the possibility of the owners would require a commitment from Brady that he's done with playing before they approve the purchase of the minority share of the team. But even if they don't do that, for Brady to actually play, if he owns the team, all 31 other owners would have to consent. I'm curious. What do you think, Steve? Do you think the other 31 owners would all consent to Tom Brady being the Raiders quarterback if need be this year? I think they might. And that makes the Raiders perhaps a little bit more interesting than they would be otherwise. A team that has plenty of holes at the quarterback position coming in to 2023.
Yeah, a couple thoughts today. I was going to say, first of all, you would think, well, one of the 31, it's like a jury. Someone's going to disagree because why would they want to help an opponent? But as you know, at some point, they're going to need some kind of votes to go their way also. So you don't want to necessarily start that slippery slope, right?
And it's good for the league. In theory, if Tom
That
Brady
too.
comes
Yeah.
back, every owner makes more money, and all of a sudden the Raider games get more interesting and get more TV views. So they would be voting in theory against their own financial interest. Look, the Raiders with Brady, without Brady, that ain't a Super Bowl team. All right.
Right.
So if they let him play, if he wants to play, and this is all ifs, but it's something to think about when it comes to win totals. It really is. That being said, how good was Brady last year? Wasn't that good? He looked a little old. He looks a little tired. What's he going to be, 46 this year? That's old. 45 this
Yeah,
year.
I
Still
was
old.
going to say I'm not sure it makes them a better team. And I'm looking at the roster right now. You've got Garoppolo and Brian Hoyer, 10 and 15 years, 25 years experience, and then you got Chase Garbers, 1 year out of California, and Aiden O'Connell, the rookie out of Purdue. So it's a tremendous drop off after Brian Hoyer if you have to go that way. By the way, real quickly, as I dug into this, you're thinking, why can't he be an owner and a player? Because you've had player coaches before in the NBA and football back in the day. And it occurred to me that the salary cap is the issue because they could finagle a way to pay him the league minimum and to give him some kind of ownership bonuses. And you'd end up getting a Hall of Fame quarterback for a rookie salary, basically. So that makes a lot of sense. The salary cap is, I guess, the big hiccup. Otherwise, I don't really see a problem with it.
No, I mean, they did it in, what's that? And this is old. I remember seeing this movie with my dad. Heaven Can Wait. You ever see that movie when you were a kid?
Yeah,
Marco
I
might
remember.
remember it. Yeah. Warren Beatty as the quarterback who dies and then comes back to play as the owner and plays for his team in the Super Bowl. Yeah, very 70s movie. Don't go there.
But it's interesting, though, because the first thought was like, why can't you be an owner and a player? Obviously, there's no conflict of interest. You want to win and you play well, but I guess the salary cap is the hiccup there. And that's how football is nowadays. All these sports, the salary cap has ruined all these sports, in my opinion. Everyone gets paid a ton and they leave and they go to other teams. They hop around. It's not like it was when we were growing up. But anyway, it's a story to follow. Teddy, real quick on the way out from this, give me odds that Tom Brady is playing for the Raiders at some point this season, plus 300, plus 200. What do you think? Less than 50%, right?
The number that popped into my head is plus 400.
Okay, yeah. I'm in that same ballpark, I think. Less than 50%, we would agree. Tom Brady, probably not. More than 50%, he's probably an owner, though, I think, at some point. Anyway, very interesting to follow. We'll keep an eye on it. Bryan Leonard will bring you on. And Brian, I saw you shaking your head off camera that Tom Brady would not necessarily help your Las Vegas Raiders. Any thoughts on that?
If I was a season ticket holder and they told me Tom Brady is my quarterback, I want to sell my tickets. He hasn't been good. He doesn't bring anything to the table. I don't even care that he's one of the owners. I'm just upset with them because they let their quarterback go and now they don't have a quarterback.
Right.
Stupid management. And what do you expect? It's the Raiders.
Yeah, when you let Carr go and you've got Garoppolo, who's workable, but now the health issues, and then you've got Brian Hoyer, who's 15-year veteran. You do feel like you should probably have had a better backup plan before allowing a franchise quarterback to disappear. But there again, the salary cap's an issue in the NFL, right, Teddy?
They traded up to draft O'Connell.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like O'Connell as the
the
Purdue QB. They like him.
Yeah, and look, we've seen rookie quarterbacks step right in. This is something we didn't see 20 years ago, right, or 25 years ago. Guys can't play, so we'll see. O'Connell, maybe who's who they think is the future of the Las Vegas Raiders. All right, Brian, let's get back to some baseball here. And Minnesota Twins, I think a team that has some potential. The Astros, the defending World Series champs, over the last week, at least last week, really ice cold at times offensively. Had those back-to-back shutouts before they got to play the Oakland A's. Your Oakland A's, your future Las Vegas A's. What are you doing with this one, Brian?
Before we get into that, did anybody see the mock-up of what the field was supposed to look like?
It looked pretty cool.
Exactly like the old Coliseum A's, where you've got so much foul territory. Are they expecting people to pay that big money to sit that far away from the actual action in the game? I don't understand it. That's a terrible decision. If you're going to pay that kind of money, Oakland, the foul territory is so big, you're so far away from the action. And this one, the mock-up is the same as Oakland. I don't understand it.
Why would you make a stadium that's getting like 2,000 people for the last couple of years? It's the worst stadium in baseball. I was there in the 80s. It's a 70s bowl dome stadium still. I mean, I hadn't seen that, but that's insane if that happens. Anyway,
yeah.
Interesting, Brian. I'm glad you pointed that out. I hadn't seen that.
I thought the mock-up looked really cool, with the dome over the top and the strip behind, like you hit a home run, you're hitting right into the strip. I thought it looked pretty, but I didn't spend a lot of time with it.
Yeah, you got to look at the field. When you got that much foul territory, you're far away. There's not a good seat in the whole place. At least in Oakland, they've got those little boxes right behind home plate. At least those are great seats. If you can get those seats, everywhere else you're sitting too far away. We're going to take a look at the baseball games today. The first game I'm taking a look at is the Twins game here against Houston. Big day in Minnesota as they finally get Royce Lewis back into the lineup. The guy's been on the IL. We saw a little bit of him last year. He's in the running for Rookie of the Year, even though he hasn't played a game yet. He's that good. He's going to be playing third base today. They also got Max Kepler back playing in right field. So they bring back two big bats today, although it looks like Byron Buxton's going to be coming off of the bench. That'll give him a bench bat. But this Minnesota is a very deep team. They're using a lot of the guys from the minors. I like this Minnesota team. And if you take a look at the bullpens in this game, over the last 4 days, basically everybody is available. Pagan's pitched 28 pitches the last 2 out of the last 3 days. He may not play, but everybody else is available in the bullpen. And I really like the starting pitcher advantage here for Minnesota. Sonny Gray has been terrific all season long. Comes in here, 54 innings, 1.82 ERA, 1.20 WHIP. One thing stands out for Sonny Gray. He's yet to give up a home run, which is great for Minnesota so far. But the people who play for the regression analysis would say he's due for giving a home run. Right now, his home run per fly ball percentage is 0. JP Francis is 20. Quite a bit of difference. But when you take a look at the batted ball information on the season, hard hit for the full game, 28.8% for Sonny Gray. His barrel percentage is 6.5, which is good. JP France, 10.8. Gray's blast percentage, which is the angle you would hit for the barrel to get a fly ball between, I believe it's 18 or 30%, which is where most of your home runs come. That's 2.2% as opposed to 7.7% for France. So you've got a guy who, yes, he's due to give up a home run, but if you take a look at the barrel and the blast percentage, he hasn't given up a lot of hard hit balls in that way. So there's a reason why he hasn't given up home runs. And if you're playing in Houston, this could be a launching pad, especially with some of these Houston hitters. So I think that's a big advantage here for Sonny Gray. Take a look at a lot of other things. The batted ball percentage, the BABIP, 317 for Sonny Gray. That's going to regress back to around the 300 range, where you get JP Francis at 250. That'll regress up. So all of this points me on to Minnesota here. I like Minnesota. Sonny Gray, I think, is a big starting pitcher advance. And the bullpens all available tonight. I'll take Houston and Sonny Gray as an underdog.
So Sonny Gray has been fantastic this year, and the Twins are 0-4 in his 4 May starts. They haven't won for him. The bullpen hasn't been there. The lineup hasn't been there. And boy, you want to talk about a cold lineup right now. Minnesota's lost 5 of their last 7, and the losses 0-1, 3-1, and 2. They're not hitting. So you have a pitcher who's not winning and a team that's not hitting. They're going against the defending World Series champs who are red hot right now, and you're barely getting a plus price. What are you getting, plus 110 here? All the money's coming from Minnesota, not even plus 110 at a lot of books. Is that enough of a plus price to get for this type of a matchup?
Yeah, of course it is. Any pitcher goes out there, you have to depend on your hitters to hit. It's not Sonny Gray's fault that they haven't been scoring for him. And also, Houston hadn't been scoring very much until they went up against the Oakland A's. And we all know Oakland A's could have possibly the worst pitching staff in the history of baseball by the time this season ends. So anybody will look good after playing the A's. So, I'm not worried about that. Houston's got a lot, no doubt about it. Houston's got a lot of offensive talent. They're a very good team. I just think the value here is on Minnesota.
Yeah, I talked about how Houston was ice cold. They got shut out those back-to-back games against the Brewers, and then, as I said, they got healthy against the A's. Like you said, a 21-6 rout, but they had 8 hits and 9 hits only in 2 of those 3 wins. So it's not like they're crushing the ball still offensively. It's something to keep an eye on. And by the way, Houston returns home off 6 road games. Check last Friday's episode with Teddy, me, and Jeff Michaels had a fantastic chart on teams off rest. Teddy, I really thought that was one of the best charts we've had. I've told a lot of Gabe Morency and I Friday night. I was telling him about that chart, and I've talked to a lot of people about it.
I haven't stopped thinking about it. I used it today in my free play write-up.
Awesome.
You know, it was sometimes like one of those charts goes, wow, and it sticks in your head and you make money with it. This might have been one. I mean, the team's coming home, and if you missed it, the team's coming home off a road trip, whether it's 3 games, 3 or more games, 6 or more games, 9 or more games. They're all in a negative subset in that first game home. Particularly home underdogs are the worst subset in that group, right, if memory serves correctly.
And it also, Jeff, also showed the difference between no rest and 1 rest. And I won't be a spoiler alert. You got to go back and watch. But one of those subsets is better than the other. And it wasn't what I initially thought, but then it made sense as Teddy and I thought more about it. So, yeah, check back on Friday's show, the last episode here from Friday on YouTube, archived. And don't forget to submit viewer questions in all these episodes. We have one coming up later. Put them in the live chat now or leave them in the comments below after the show. Teddy and I will be answering them every day. Every show this week, we'll be checking one to answer. We'll be answering the other ones as well if we don't get to them in the live chat and also in the comments. Brian, one of the reasons I love doing Monday shows with you and Marcos, because I know, baseball, we don't do a lot of situational handicapping, but Mondays sometimes enable us to do that. Obviously, the Sunday night team, we talk about playing against them, but you got to wonder about Tampa's mindset right after this series against the Dodgers. Not only did they have 3 big home games against them, now they take to the road without rest. But yesterday's barn burner, 11-10. Now they're in Chicago. They're the best team in baseball, though. So do we dare fade them, or is this a spot maybe to fade Tampa tonight against the Cubs, or this afternoon, rather?
I'm looking to fade the Cubs here. When I take a look at the starting pitching, Taj Bradley's been really good. He had one hiccup, but he's got a 4.44 ERA. But when you take a look at the advanced stats, he's much better than that. His xFIP 2.82. xERA 3.12, Sierra 2.73. It's just the opposite for Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman is one of these guys that if you watch him, he's not very impressive. Doesn't strike a lot of guys out, but he's a winner. And it's tough to go against those type of pitchers because you can find value in playing those. But his ERA on the season, 2.95. But when you take a look at his advanced stats, 3.70 for xFIP, 4.04 for xERA, 4.06 for Sierra. So it's something you got to be concerned about with Stroman. He's pitching over his head right now. If you take a look at Stuff Plus, and Stuff Plus doesn't mean everything, but Taj Bradley, a 139 Stuff Plus, Marcus Stroman, 59. That's the biggest differential I think I've seen all season long. Strikeout minus walk percentage, Bradley, 29.7%, Marcus Stroman, 12.2%. I took a look at the weather. The wind will be blowing in 9 miles an hour, so we may not get any home runs in this game. But I would much prefer the guy who's going to strike somebody out, and that's Taj Bradley in this game. You take a look at the numbers for that. Batted ball quality, both these guys have been very good. Barrel percentage, 6.5% for Bradley, 4.0% for Stroman. Stroman's blast is the same, 4.0, and Bradley, 4.8. Bradley's given out 1.48 home runs per 9 compared to 0.70. That's going to regress based on what we're seeing out of the barrel and the blast percentages. I like the Tampa Bay here. You take a look at their bullpen. That is my concern here. The closer, their normal closer, Peter Fairbanks, they pulled him out of last night's game. He will not be playing. Jason Adam is their other closer. Well, they've got like 4 or 5 guys that close, but he takes over the closers. He got the save yesterday, but he had to throw 38 pitches. You got Colin Poche, 25 pitches, 2 out of the last 3 days. Kevin Kelly, 33. Jalen Big started a couple days ago, 3 days ago, and now he came back in relief yesterday, got the win, 50 pitches. So Tampa Bay's bullpen is a concern tonight, but we also have the same problem with Chicago, with the Chicago Cubs. So I like the hitting from Tampa Bay. I prefer the Tampa Bay starter. And I understand that they just did play the Dodgers. They have they take somewhat of a letdown here playing the Cubs, but this is a team. If you're a guy that's playing letdown situations with Tampa Bay, you haven't seen it this year. This has been teams have been very impressive. They will play the Yankees. They will play Boston. You turn on the next day, they play Tampa Bay, Toronto once again. And they go play somebody else, and they continue to win. This is a team I'm looking to back, and I think the line is very fair here with Tampa Bay.
I want to talk about MLB advanced metric stats right now because it's real clear what the markets don't like about Stroman. Stroman doesn't strike out hitters. He's a ground ball. He had 18 ground ball outs his last start, and he doesn't strike batters out. He's shut down the Mets and the Phillies his last 2 games, 2 decent lineups. And certainly when you look at how Chicago has played with Stroman on the hill this year, they've been a decent team with him. He's consistently kept them in games. Do you worry that the advanced metrics aren't giving a true picture of who Marcus Stroman is? Because he's got, he doesn't strike batters out, and the advanced metrics love them strikeout hurlers, and they hate the guys that don't get Ks.
I agree. Stroman's one of those guys over the years that I've made a lot of money on because of that. Everybody looks for the big strikeouts. They figure, well, if you strike people out, the guy can't hit the ball in the field and can't get a hit. I fully believe in that, and I agree. Stroman has value because of that. We find that a lot. We see lots of guys. Young for Kansas City, when he pitched for them, he pitched in a ballpark that couldn't get any home runs. So anytime he was at home, it was great. Of course, he goes on the road, he gets clobbered, and that's the kind of thing that you run into. But with the wind blowing in here, I don't see a lot of fly balls anyway, so I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. Stroman's a guy that you can make money on. As you mentioned, they play well when Stroman's. He's the leader. He's their number 1 starter. He may not be their best starter, but he's the number 1 starter. Steele's been really good this year until regression started to catch up on him the last couple of games. But there's something you always have to look at. I always look at the guy's full career as opposed to it's still small sample size right now. We're only in the end of May here, so I throw out a lot of the seasonal stats for that and look at career, and he's always the guy that outperforms and makes money for clients. That said, I don't think it's enough value here to play the Cubs. I'm playing Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay this year against sub-500 teams. Cubs in last place, by the way, in the NL Central. Tampa Bay is 17-2 this year against teams that are below 500. So you definitely better hope for a letdown spot if you're playing against Tampa. And Brian says it doesn't happen. What's up, Ted?
They started 14-0. Remember that 14-0? They're 3-2 their last 5 against sub 500 teams. That whole start when they started 14-0 was all against the teams that were sub 500.
But you don't count that? You're only going with a 5-game sample size as opposed to 19?
It's a long way in the rearview mirror now.
I agree, but they're still playing good. They're not playing like they did early in the season. They were world beaters then. I mean, they've come down to earth a little bit, but they're still playing very well. And especially when you take a look at some of the teams they've been able to beat. The Yankees, Dodgers. I mean, they play some tough teams.
So only 60% against losing teams the last 5. That'll get you a long way in zone baseball. Brian, what else you got? What else you got going on for $9 Monday, man?
It's a tough card for me today. I wanted to use the Golden Knights in hockey, but I've got Dallas for the series, so I figured I'd better lay off of that one. But I do have Miami up as a free play on the site. I'll save you the trouble of getting over there. And I do have one play up in baseball. It wasn't one of the 2 we discussed here, but it's my best bet on today's card, only $9, and you can get that right now, along with everybody's plays on $9 Monday at WagerTalk.
And don't forget about those free plays. Like Brian said, he has NBA Game 7 tonight, which we have not talked about here on the show. He's got that for free up on the site. And Brian will be back at 4:15 Eastern with myself and Brian Power to talk more about the NBA Eastern Conference Final Game 7. So I know we didn't touch on it here, Teddy, but a lot of NBA talk at 4:15 Eastern, NBA tip-off here on Monday on WagerTalk TV. And also the baseball show, Marco will be back on that actually at 2 o'clock Eastern today here on Monday as well. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to get to one of those viewer questions. Submit them every day in the live chat, the comments below. We answer them here on the air. 30 seconds, a live viewer question in just a moment.
Welcome to the WagerTalk Summer Celebration. How many consider Memorial Day weekend the start of the summer and Labor Day the last hurrah? Summertime means vacations, crazy schedules, and entirely different routines. That's why it's the perfect time to lock in an all-access pass with daily email and/or text updates to follow along with your favorite handicapper selections. This offer gives you 98 days of access from Memorial Day through Labor Day. You can start today and get a few extra days for free. A 30-day all-access pass is regularly priced at $2.99, and a 90-day all-access pass at $8.49. But with our summer celebration special, you can lock in the entire summer for under $6 per day or just over $40 per week. That's right, our summer celebration is only $5.79. But wait, there's more. Can't choose just one? Buy 2 summer specials at $5.79 and we'll give you $100 in bonus wager bucks. Just email support@wagertalk.com after your purchase and ask them to credit your account. This valid is offered through midnight on Wednesday, May 31st. From all of us at WagerTalk, have a safe and enjoyable summer.
Oh man, I gotta start watching the show more when I'm not on. I didn't know we had like calypso music here for the intro, Teddy. We didn't have that a couple weeks ago. I don't think we even had that Friday. I like it. It's a little BS time, better segment time, and we're gonna take questions every day from viewers, live chat, or more importantly, the comments below the YouTube really is the best way because that's available 24/7. That's easy for me to check. We don't lose it in the chat sometimes. So once again, if we haven't gotten to one of your questions in the last week or so, submit it again. We might get it to the second time around. And if not, let us know you've resubmitted it. And I will answer it personally in the comments on YouTube if we don't get to it on the show. So we really appreciate the support. And Austin Stowe, he's actually had a couple questions. I don't know if we got to his about a month ago, so I wanted to get to one of his this time. And I really like this question, Teddy. It's to the point, by the way. I like that. Try to make them concise, opine concisely if possible. Our graphics guy will appreciate that as well. But this is something I think is extremely important, something we don't talk about a lot, Teddy, and I think this is really one of the keys to being a winning handicapper long-term. And Austin Snow, you say, how do you review a play and determine if it was a right-side winner or just luck? Once again, Austin Snow is asking, how do you review a play and determine if it was a right-side winner or just luck? I think this is extremely important to do. And Teddy, I'm sure it's something you do in your post-game process on a daily basis.
I've been doing it for 20-something years. I call it the post-mortem. And I either do it the night or the next morning where you're going through. And really, I go through the play-by-play. But most of the stuff I watch, so I know. But I always want to go take a look at the box score numbers and go through the play-by-play, regardless if I watched it or not, just to make sure that there was something statistical that I didn't miss. I would say that 90% is probably high. 80% of losing tickets, people are like, I have the right side, I just got unlucky. When you're post-morteming, I try to be a little bit harsher on myself. And the advantage that I have is I do a write-up. So the write-up that I do each time, I can say, all right, this is what I thought was going to happen. These were the key factors that I thought were going to be in play. Did what I thought was going to happen? Were these key factors in play? If the answer is yes, that's a right side. If the answer is no, but it wins, that's more luck. If the answer is yes, but it loses, that's more luck. So it's not always an easy way to say, all right, this is definitely what happened. But when you write out the rationale for why you played a game, it makes it much easier to grade the game itself afterwards. That helps me. Is that something you do, Steve? I don't even know.
Well, first of all, the analysis part, I've said this for 20 years. I've always provided analysis with my selections for decades. And one of the reasons it's important to do so is obviously if those doing their own handicapping, I think it's a nice supplement to help people, but also it keeps you honest. Like it's hard to put a play out if you can't justify it. So you and I both approach it the same way. One thing I'd recommend is when you're looking at the game afterwards, remember what your premise was for that play, the reason you thought this team would beat another team. And did they play that way? Was it just bad luck? Did the other team shoot lights out from 3-point range in a basketball game? Or did the other pitcher maybe have one or two just bad pitches that gave up a couple home runs? So first of all, see if the game played out the way you thought it was. If it didn't, that's a real red flag and probably a reason maybe to stay away from that team in the near future until you get a feel for them. However, with that said, some of the best plays in all of sports are misleading box scores, misleading results. So you might not like bad luck, but bad luck can actually set up a better play in the future. And it's such an important reason to know why you lost. And Teddy, of course, does a bad beat segment a lot during the football season. And we all remember the bad beats, but on the opposite of every single bad beat, 100% of the time is a good beat for somebody else who was on the other side of that play. So once again, don't get too down on losses. Figure out if it was a bad beat or if it was a bad handicap, and don't get too up on the wins, because a lot of times it was maybe just luck and you weren't on the right side. It's something very important to do long term.
One thing that I do want to say is that the box score alone is not enough. All right.
Sure.
Especially in a game where it's a blowout and the box score, or something happened weird early and the box score numbers aren't going to approximate how the game was played. When weird things happens early, I downgrade all the box score numbers in basketball and football, both, because you're not getting a true sense. The team turns the ball over 4 times in the first quarter, down 28-0. Their opponent is not, their opponent's not trying to push the pace, and they're going to get all the yards the whole rest of the game. You have all these misleading. Same thing if a team hits 15 3-pointers in the first half, the second half box score numbers are garbage. It's garbage time. So don't overemphasize the box score in your analysis of, did I have a right side or a wrong side? The game played out like you thought it was going to be. That's a good handicap. If the game didn't, that's not so good. We all have them. We all regrade. Not every handicap from anyone is going to be right. Otherwise, that would be the end of sports betting.
Yeah, and I mean, you try to hit about 55, 60% on the season. If half your plays are going to be random luck, then you have to hit 60, 70, 75% of the skill plays, and that's going to get you down to that 55, 60% range. The box score is interesting as well. The play-by-play, as you said earlier, you can check the play-by-play even if you don't watch the games. That's something else to use when you're looking at the game recaps. And also some bad luck, like Giannis going out 10 minutes into game 1 against the Heat, right? That messes that whole game up. That's something else to consider. And I remember it because I had the Bucks in that game, even though I've had a good playoffs overall. Hey, Teddy, speaking of the NBA playoffs, NBA tip-off will be on at 4:15 Eastern today on Monday. We'll have a deep dive into Game 7, Celtics Heat. But I know you've got a play going tonight for $9 Monday. You've got a free baseball play up there, but you've also got a best bet in that game tonight in the NBA for $9 Monday.
Sure do. And we haven't really broken down the game. It is worth noting, when it comes to NBA Game 7s, outside after the first round, and Ralph Michaels had a chart up on this. What are they, 12-2 to the under the last 14? There's a pretty strong bent towards Game 7 staying under the total. That being said, the total for Game 5, 215.5. The total for Game 6, 209. The total for Game 7, 203.5. So the markets have made some dramatic adjustments over the last 2 games, from where this total was to where it is today. They're not sleeping on the Game 7 under long-term trend.
Yeah, no, it's remarkable to open 205 down to 203.5, and we'll definitely talk more about that. Brian Power, Bryan Leonard, myself at 4:15 Eastern here on NBA Tip-Off for Monday. Baseball show at 2 o'clock Eastern. But before we get to those sports, let's finish with our Canadian of the day. It wasn't a Canadian free zone. It's a Prez free zone, Carmine, but not a Canadian free zone. And we got to talk a little bit more hockey, some soccer as well. So in the closing minutes here, what are you looking at NHL Game 6 here between Dallas and Vegas?
Yeah, quickly. One of the guys in the chat said, "Thank God it's Memorial Day. We have no Canadians on the show," and laughed about it. But you do have one. But I know we're short on time. And happy Memorial Day to all of my friends and family south of the border. Have a great day and safe day today. This NHL game. I know Marco was on earlier and talked about the full game under. I'm looking a little differently. I'm looking at the first period over in this one. This series, as it's gone on, Dallas has gotten better after that. After what happened in Game 3 and that bit of a disaster with Jamie Benn taking that 5-minute penalty, which led to and it was 3-0 after 7 minutes and effectively ended that game. Dallas has gotten better. They gotten better in Game 4 and Game 5. They're making life miserable, I think, now for Aiden Hill. They're getting guys in front of the net. They're bumping them when they can, get some sticks to the pad. And he got through the first 3 games fairly easy, but life has been a little difficult for this guy the last couple of games. And Dallas is coming on. Ottinger is getting better. But the first periods have been a gold mine if you've been betting them. The over 1.5 is normally during the regular season, you see 160, 170s. It's at 110, 115. and it's gone over in 5 of the 6 games in this series. The first game, it didn't go over. It was 1-0 at the end of the first, but there's been three 1-1 ties at the end of the first, a 3-0, which was that game 3 score line, and this is hit. Sorry, in 4 of the 5 games thus far, and now we've got a game 6, and Dallas is at home and probably feeling really good right now to try and send this to 7 games and back to Vegas. I think the trend continues. We see some goals in the first period, and even though 4 of the 5 games have gone over the total in the first period, only 2 of the games have gone over the total in the 5 games, and that was the game 1 that went 4-3, went to overtime, and then 4-2, which is the last game that just got over the total in this one. But I do like the over in the first period in this one.
A little over first period, and that's something that Marco talked about as well, how they've been higher scoring early in the games and lower scoring late. Let's talk a little UEFA Europa League final. Roma and Sevilla. We got, I'm looking at the WagerTalk live on screen. It's basically a pick'em between Roma, Sevilla, and draw. You get them all between plus 175 and plus 195. How do we attack match?
This one this one here, as far as the game goes, there's the European season has pretty much ended amongst the top 5 leagues, but there's 3 championship games in 3 club competitions. The first one is this the Europa League final. Then we have the Europa Conference League final, and then of course the Champions League final on the 10th of June. And this is probably the toughest of the 3, and probably the one that's going to be the most boring of the 3. Both these teams play defense, and that's why the total is sitting at 2 right now in this game. They're not expecting a lot of goals in this one. And when you look at Sevilla, they are the consummate professionals when it comes to this tournament. They have won this tournament 6 times, which is the most of any club in Europe winning this competition. They've won it 6 times. And if you win this competition, you get an automatic berth into next year's Champions League. So this is a team that has faltered during the season in Spain and La Liga. I think they're sitting in 11th place right now with no chance of European play. But if they win this tournament, they are in Champions League next season. So they've been focusing on this more so than their own domestic league. And then you look at Roma. They've got one of my favorite managers, Jose Mourinho. This guy can set up a team and he wins trophies. But the thing is, and the problem here is that they're facing numerous injuries on this team. They've closed off their practice to anyone but their own medical squad and their trainers. They don't want to give up the game plan, and the game plan is because they're missing some players. One of their best players in the league, goal scorer Paulo Dybala, did practice for the first time after missing 3 games, so he'll likely feature at some point in the game, whether he starts or whether he comes in. This is one of those ones where, Teddy and Steve, I don't think you take a side or the draw. I think if you're going to take a side, you take the full game, and there's different ways of betting this. So if you're betting Sevilla or you're betting Roma or you're betting the draw, that bet is settled on 90 minutes plus any injury time, which is usually 3 to 4 minutes. There is an option which is called to lift the trophy, and that takes into consideration if the game goes to extra time or the game goes to penalty kicks. The team that hoists the trophy is the one that you have, is the one that you're betting. And Sevilla is minus 110 to hoist the trophy. I just think at the end of the day, this is a team with pedigree that has been there before, that has won before. They rested some players on the weekend in lieu of this game on Wednesday, and I think they win another trophy and make it 7 trophies in this competition. So Sevilla to lift the trophy, and that includes, like I said, extra time and penalty kicks. Whereas if you took Sevilla plus 160-ish or 168 and the game went to extra time or penalty kicks, you'd have a losing wager.
I like it. That's one thing I don't like about soccer betting is that extra time and having to play the 3-way line. So you take all that out of the equation by having them just win the damn thing. And that's all that matters in the long run anyway. So I like it. Carmine Bianco, WagerTalk.com. And Carm, you covered some hockey, some soccer, and you've got a promo code for hockey the rest of the playoffs, $20 off, or the Yeah, and then they also had $1 for the Champions League. I want to find out more about that. So tell us a little bit what the WagerTalk.com, what you got going on.
Yeah, so in 2018, I went to Johnny Detroit and I said, listen, a lot of people follow soccer. I want to do the Champions League final for like $1 instead of like 25 or 29. And I include a bunch of prop plays. And it's been very successful since 2018. We've hit a lot of good props at the plus 800, plus 600. So he always gives me the go ahead. So you can get the Champions League play up. It's up on my page for only $1. And I will be including some prop plays over the next few days as they are starting to come out now for that game that's being played on June the 10th. And of course, the rest of the NHL season, which is tonight's game, possibly game 7, and then all of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's priced right now at $79, but you can get a further $20 off and get it for $59, which is the price of basically 3 packages the rest of the way. For using the coupon code playoffs20. Playoffs20 will get you another $20 off that $79 package.
Take advantage of Carmine's special offer. Again, the promo code playoffs20 at checkout. Carm, thank you so much and best of luck with all your wagers this evening. Steve, that's going to wrap it for the Monday edition. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day on Memorial Day to hang out with us here on WagerTalk TV. We appreciate it. And it's not the only show we have. First pitch available, NBA tip-off coming as well. As always, the programming's right here on WagerTalk Today on WagerTalk TV. For Steve Merrill, I'm Teddy Covers. Enjoy the games tonight. Best of luck with all your wagers. We'll see you right here on WagerTalk Today, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, tomorrow on Tuesday. Cheers.
Welcome to the WagerTalk Summer Celebration. How many consider Memorial Day weekend the start of the summer and Labor Day the last hurrah? Summertime means vacations, crazy schedules, and entirely different routines. That's why it's the perfect time to lock in an all-access pass with daily email and/or text updates to follow along with your favorite handicapper selections. This offer gives you 98 days of access from Memorial Day through Labor Day. You can start today and get a few extra days for free. A 30-day all-access pass is regularly priced at $299, and a 90-day all-access pass at $849. But with our summer celebration special, you can lock in the entire summer for under $6 per day or just over $40 per week. That's right, our summer celebration is only $579. But wait, there's more. Can't choose just one? Buy 2 summer specials at $579 and we'll give you $100 in bonus wager bucks. Just email support@wagertalk.com after your purchase and ask them to credit your account. This valid is offered through midnight on Wednesday, May 31st. From all of us at WagerTalk, have a safe and enjoyable summer.